Hi, it's me again, and I wanted to talk about something. I don't know if you use the word fixate very often, but this is a word that I think I just want to read the definition of what fixate. Okay. If you don't know, like if you just type it in, you could just type it in. Anytime you're not sure about a word or whatever, you could just type it in on Google these days, right? We don't need an actual, what do you call it, a dictionary anymore. We have our Google, right? Anyway, this word called fixate, it is defined as cause to acquire an obsessive attachment to someone or something. And it gives an example. She has for some time been fixated on photography. That's the example that it gave here in Google. Okay, now let me read that again. It says cause someone to acquire an obsessive attachment to someone or something. Okay, so then it says technically, there's another definition under technical. Direct one's eyes towards or subjects fixated on a central point. Okay, so it's like giving an example. Okay, so I'm trying to get my... Okay, so I was thinking about that, right? Because when you fixate on someone, or when you look at the actual just meaning of fixating, right, which can be obsessive. I'm just talking about gazing on one or fixing one eyes on something or someone, being obsessive, right? It's basically the definition. But if you type in the word fix in the Bible, right? Or you can try to type in word fixate. It just depends on what version of the Bible you're dealing with. But I'm going to give you examples of how the Bible uses the word fix, which is obviously the base word of fixate. Okay, now let's see. It says, this is Colossians 3, verse 2. It says, keep your minds fixed on the things above, not on the things on earth. So that's Colossians chapter 3, verse 2. Okay, so you can look in your own Bible. It may use another word, but basically that's the meaning. Okay, that's one way that it uses fix. And then it says, let's see, there was a couple other that were kind of similar to that. Let's see. There was one that was talking about Jesus Christ, Luke 4, verses 20. It says, with that he rolled up the scroll, handed it back to the attendant, and sat down, and the eyes of all in the synagogue were intently fixed on him. So basically, to fixate or have your eyes fixed on something, it could be good or bad, right? It could be good or bad. It could be good if you are keeping yourself and your eyes fixated on the things above. That would be God, Jesus, the kingdom, Holy Spirit. Fixating or obsessively, thinking about God, His will for you in your life. Things like that. Where it's obviously acceptable to keep your eyes fixed on the kingdom. Or, as some people like to say, keep your eyes on the prize, right? That is okay. But in life, sometimes people fixate on other things. And I'm not talking about when you just have like a goal. When you just have a goal of something and you need to fixate on your job at hand or something like that, where there's like a start date and an end date, that's okay. We all have goals and things we have to do. We might fixate on, making a certain amount of money so we could pay a bill, right? But when we fixate on a person, that could also be potentially good or bad, right? So let's interchange the word fixate. Like I said, the definition is obsess, right? Being obsessive or obsess over somebody. Now, there have been times in my life that I absolutely was obsessive about someone. Like, for example, my grandmother. When my grandmother was in the hospital, and they told me they called the whole family, they said, come say goodbye to your grandmother. She had a stroke, and she had some other health conditions and stuff, and they were not giving her long to live. And I became fixated on my grandmother. Now, she ended up living a year longer, but I also, when I went to the hospital, I drove from Florida to North Carolina, and I brought my blender and all of my herbs, my vitamins, my green drink. I remember bringing all of my tricks and things and anything possible, because why? I was not ready to say goodbye to my grandmother. And I obsessively fixated, on my grandmother until we got her out of the hospital. And, she wasn't doing well, but in that case, because, it was like I wanted more time with her. And I think that's okay at times like that, where you fixate on someone, especially if they are about to say goodbye. Like, that's the time to fixate on somebody, to kind of like stay next to them, right? When we get married, or when you have a partner or a relationship, if they become ill or something like that, maybe you need to fixate on them. But a lot of times when we fixate or obsess over a partner, a relationship, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, somebody else, right? It's a little, how do I want to say this? You might want to ask yourself, A, if you are fixating on that other person. B, if so, why? And C, if you are a God-fearing person, then ask yourself, is what I'm doing actually putting that other person above Jehovah God? If you don't know, Jehovah is God's name, okay? Most people know that these days. But anyway, you have to be very careful about obsessing or fixating, thinking about, following after, or, calling too many times, whatever, maybe following somebody, to, see what they're doing, or, being obsessive about this other person, right? Because actually what you're actually doing in God's eyes, is idolatry. It's actually a form of idolatry. So it's literally putting something else above God, because your mind is on somebody else, right? Other than God, other than fixating yourself on the things above, which is what the scriptures say to do, right? That's okay. And that's actually what Jehovah God wants us to fixate on. We should be obsessively thinking about God. And that's if you're a Bible reader. That's if you are, if you're a God-fearing person, and if you want to serve God. Okay, so I understand that there's many people in the world, and some people don't believe in God, and that's fine. This isn't the channel for you, because I do believe in God and his son Christ Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Okay, so I'm going to reference them a lot. Okay, and if that offends anybody or it offends you, hey, that's a-okay. Just don't click on my channel. Okay, it's just as simple as that. But anyway, again, if you yourself are guilty of obsessing over a person, whether you're in a relationship with them or not, or whatever, and whatever means that is, whether it's following them, stalking them, GPSing them on their phone, like if you're one of those type of women that oh my God, I see this all the time, and I hear about this kind of stuff, usually very immature, young-minded women who have nothing else better to do but to check their man's phone all the time, and seeing what's happening, what's going on. That's being obsessive, and that is literally a form of idolatry. Like, you're literally putting that person over God. And maybe that's okay with you if you don't if you're not a worshiper of God, or maybe you don't believe in God, I don't know. Maybe that's okay for you. Even if you don't believe in God, though, I would suggest, man or woman, that you might need to fill your time with something else. I mean, there's a lot of other things to be obsessing over. There's a lot of other things, okay? One of them is maybe education, because maybe you do have too much time on your hands and you are not filling your time with making money. Okay, I mean, if you're really not into God or whatever, Jesus, okay, that's fine. Then maybe education. Like getting an education so that you can fixate or be on something that's going to make you money. Like basically, if I'm going to obsess over someone outside of God, that needs to be something that's going to make me some money. Okay. I know for me personally, the way I've always been, but especially, I would say the last 20 years, I don't have time to be obsessing over any person, any man, any woman, any relationship, right? Because I don't care what's in that person's phone, because yeah, probably there's going to be something in it I don't like. That's number one. And number two, I was always taught, don't ask the question that you don't want the answer to. Right? So if you really want that answer, fine. And you look in it to get your answer so you can jet. But you don't obsessively look in someone's phone or try to follow behind them or GPS them or, searching their car, their belongings or whatever. Like I hear about all these ladies doing all the time, like, trying to sniff their man down and stuff like that. If you're doing all that and you don't actually plan on leaving him, but you're doing it just to what? Aha! I got you. Yeah, what you got is too much time on your hand. That's what you have. You have too much time on your hand. So again, maybe let's say if you haven't, completed your high school diploma, it might be time to go ahead and get your GED or finish your high school diploma. If that's where, I don't know what level you're at, but if let's say you have completed your high school diploma and maybe it's time to look into getting an associate's degree or a 2-year degree in something that you like. Okay, something that you like. Maybe a certificate. Maybe if you do have an associate's degree, and you have a certificate or whatever, and you still have too much time on your hand, then it might be time to go for your, bachelor's degree, or whatever the next level is, right? Whatever that is. And the reason why I'm saying that is because as a woman who I feel, is not about to obsess or fixate on any man, especially not his phone, not where he's going, and not any relationship, right? And yeah, as a more mature woman, I would suggest to any other woman out there who is obsessively fixating and trying to control their man or whatever, maybe even your child, okay? Because this definitely can go for parents who are that way with their children, especially narcissistic mothers or fathers. It might be time to get another hobby. It might be time to get another hobby, or go back to school and get an education. Or if you, let's say, are a older single woman who fixates and obsesses over her adult children, maybe also that's a cue for you to go and get a man. Find a man or somebody who wants to be obsessed over. I mean, there are a lot of men who like to be obsessed over. They really do. Some men find that flattering. I mean, that might be considered toxic. But again, like I always used to say, me and my first husband, we used to always say, you got to find someone to match your crazy. You two crazies got to match. So if you like being obsessive and fixating over somebody and the person that you're doing it on doesn't like it, then you might need to find a new person so that you guys can match each other's toxic nature. Okay? Now, me personally, I don't like when somebody fixates on me like that. I don't mind being spoiled, if you want to say spoiled. I don't mind being treated well. In fact, I expect to be treated well and respected, loved and admired. But you know what? I got a lot of my own stuff that I like to do, that I like to get done. And I don't need to be with any man not even my first husband, who I loved very much, 24/7. I really don't need that. Now, if we happen to be together a lot or whatever, it's because we like each other. But goodness knows when I say I definitely enjoy my alone time as well, or just time with my girlfriends or whatever. Like, that's balance, called balance and harmony. I suggest this because I see this a lot. And what I find very interesting, okay? Because I have noticed, and I realized this myself, actually, in my first husband, when I was married to my first husband, my first marriage, that when you think about it, a lot of people will go to school 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, whatever, and get a degree in whatever that they're getting a degree in, like whatever they're majoring in. And they will spend more time studying on that particular subject than they do studying marriage, God's view on marriage, and studying, like, actually thinking about who you would actually want to be with, who you should be with, the type of person you should be with, the type of woman you're actually want in your life, the type of man that you want in your life. Someone who's actually going to be a good mate. Someone who, like, if you are a business-oriented person and you want to own businesses or real estate, land, or whatever, it would probably be good for you to put that on your list as somebody who would be very good at business, or who would be a good helper in that way. Or maybe she's also interested in the same thing. Now, I say this because it's like your marriage mate really and truly is your biggest investment. Okay? And that person can really make or break you. Like, if they are not business oriented, or if you're over here trying to make the money and all they do is spend the money and spend your money, you're literally going to spin your wheels, and you're literally going to just drive yourself crazy, because you guys are not going to be at the same, you're not going to have the same values when it comes to money, and you're not going to have the same goals, and that can make for crazy making. And also, it's like maybe that might put you in a state where one person is obsessing over the other, right? Because no one has really taken the time to actually study, like, who do you really want? Like, who would be your ideal mate, right? Like, to me, these are things you should think of. It's amazing when you just happen to bump into somebody who just you happen to click with. And especially young in life. Like, that happened with me and Travis. And that was, like, rare. That was rare. But we were both entrepreneurs. I mean, I remember when we opened up our barbershop, we put off the wedding for at least a year to open a barbershop. And I remember making his flyers. I remember getting them printed out. And I remember we would canvas parking lots in the local city, when we lived in DeLand, Florida. And we would always be leaving business cards and flyers. I mean, I know that's very old school now, because now there's so many other ways which that's another video I plan on making, is talking about networking and marketing, because I have a lot of experience in that, and I enjoy networking and I enjoy marketing and stuff. So, but anyway, I was doing it even young. Here I was, like, I got married at 21, so I think we were like 20 or whatever, whenever we did that. But anyway, I was his partner, and I enjoyed doing things like that. I remember he Mondays, a lot of Mondays, he would go and cut hair at the at different retirement homes and places like that. So we would have to go out and actually first offer his services and get the account. And he did. We both did that. We both went together, and we would get these accounts so that he could he had like a guaranteed pay, and it was actually very easy. It was actually very easy work for him, because they basically laid there. So, and they weren't picky about their haircuts, right? So anyway, but we were both very business minded, and we helped each other. We pushed each other in that way. He was always supportive of me and any of my business ventures and stuff like that, right? But let's say you are more family oriented. If you're more family oriented and you really want a lot of kids, and you marry somebody who doesn't want kids, or doesn't want a lot of kids, or is not even really thinking much about kids, well, that's kind of like not a good match, right? So one person might end up fixating on having kids, and the other one's not fixating on kids at all. So, like, that's not a good match, right? Anyway, if you are guilty of obsessively fixating on somebody, and you are a Christian and you believe in God, I would pray to God to help balance your mental stability, to help balance you, and to help you calm your nerves down, and pray to seek the best way for you to not fixate on any person outside of him and his kingdom, his glory, right? Like, seek for ways to not do that, okay? Because it's really just not healthy. It's really not healthy to be that way. If one of your if one person in the relationship has decided they wanted to end the relationship and they no longer want to spend time with you, or like with me, for example, if I had a man that said, you know, I don't want to spend time with you, I don't want to be with you, okay, that's it. To me, that is like, okay, if I can't change your mind, and if I want you and I can't change your mind, if in a conversation or two I can't change your mind or whatever, to me, that's just game over. It's game over. It's like, maybe that person has other reasons even outside of, I mean, who knows? I don't even know. I wouldn't even care. I know I'm not going to put no time onto it. I'm not going to fixate on somebody. I'm not going to sit here and try to follow them everywhere. I'm not going to call them down 1,000,000 times, 16 million times, try to get them. No amount of fixating or acting ridiculous or acting crazy, all that's going to do is push him further and further away from me and give him more reason as to why he doesn't want to be with me. Okay? To me, this is a no-brainer. To me, this is like common sense. But I see it all the time, especially in younger, immature girls that are just obsessive. Now, I think that may work on some men who like a lot of attention, who, for whatever reason, their level of toxicness or whatever you want to say, you know, appreciates that amount of obsession. And in that case, you are a good match. But most of the men that I know and that I have talked to and that I've seen, they hate it. They find it to be controlling, and it's embarrassing, and it drives them away further, right? And I know for me, when I have experienced also some form of fixations from the opposite sex or whatever, I hated it. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like it, especially if I have made a decision and I have said that I don't want you in my life, or I no longer want to be with you. Then that's it. It's period, the end. I don't want to be with you. And you can't change your mind. You got to let people come to you or leave you in peace. In peace. And if whatever I have to offer as a woman, you know, is not enough to keep a man, keep his attention, and keep his respect, and keep his private parts inside of his pants, then apparently that's just what it is. I'm not enough. I'm not enough for him. I might be enough for somebody else, but not for him. I look at that as, we're not a good match. And I don't want to fight. I'm not going to fight about that. And I'm going to open the door and let you walk right on out, because I don't want that struggle, right? So it's okay to love somebody, especially when you have, you know, been with them for a long time or whatever. And I understand fighting for your relationship or your marriage. I can understand that. If the feelings are mutual, right? If the feelings are actually mutual, but there's something that they don't like about you, there's something you don't like about them, and you guys haven't, if there's a way that you can kind of like communicate and try to work that out, that's called fighting for your relationship or your marriage. I'm not talking about fixating or being obsessive. That's being open and honest with your communication as to what the other person needs to change, and going back and forth and being open and honest. I'm talking about so honest as to, let's say you don't like the way, I'm talking about real open honesty. So let's say you don't like the way your woman smells. This is a real thing. Smells are very important, right? Smells are super important. And I said, a lot of people don't want to admit this, or they want to talk about this, right? But like pheromones and your natural body scent and stuff, like, honestly, some, like, and I'm not talking about even just body odor, like, just like you've worked out. No, your natural pheromones. I know for me, disgust me. If I don't like if I don't like the way that person smells naturally without no cologne and stuff, there's no amount of cologne that can cover that up, right? And when I don't like it, or the breath is just not, and it's like, a lot of times it's not even just about gargling, like there's something else going on, something on the inside, right? And you can try to help, and it doesn't mean that you don't love the person, or that they're not a good person, or that they are not, you know, they don't have other good qualities. But if it doesn't mix with you, it doesn't mix with you. And you know how many men have said to me and have told me, like, that this was like an issue for them. Like, they didn't know how to tell the woman that they fell in love with or whatever, you know, they might have even had kids with her. And they're like, they don't like the way she smells. And I do, you know, that is a hard thing to say. But when it comes to fighting for your marriage or fighting for your relationship or whatever, if that is one of the issues or whatever, it's like, that's what I mean by fighting. It's like, get honest. Get honest with the other person about what you like and what you don't like. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable the conversation is, right? And if you want to just end a relationship, whoever it is, you know, I'm talking about for girls or guys, it doesn't matter, whatever relationship it is, even if it's like a job, even for that, you know, it's like, let's not fixate and get crazy and obsessive. Most people who are balanced mentally, most people who are mature, God-like, you know, God-minded, I should say, God-minded or Christian, or just like an adult, not immature. They don't appreciate obsessive type of behavior, okay? I myself have nothing to hide, right? I don't care if my phone is left out all the time. I could care less. I have nothing to hide, right? But if I felt like every time I left the room or whatever, my man was trying to check upon me like that or whatever, it would make me feel some type of way. It would make me feel like he just doesn't trust me, really and truly. I mean, and it's going to end up, that's a symptom of something else, is how I look at it. It's a symptom of something else. Either something I'm actually doing that's making him feel that way, or it's a symptom of his mental instability, or him just not trusting me, right? If I've never given him a reason to do that, right, and he doesn't find anything whenever he does, and he's still doing it over and over and over again, like obsessive or something, that's a sign of mental instability. There's something else going on, right? Now, I'm just speaking this out because I hear about this kind of thing, and I have a lot of, you know, people that I deal with, you know, whether I do their face or makeup, stuff like that, you know, I deal with a lot of women, and a lot of guys, you know, like I just talk to people, and this is something that comes up, especially I notice, especially with younger, immature type of women, or women who just don't have enough going on for themselves. They have too much time on their hands, and they're mentally just thinking about other things. I have to keep my eyes all the time. But again, I just suggest, you know, if you're someone out there and you have an issue with this, and you are an obsessive personality in that way, and it's not for money, I mean, it's not for God, and it's not for making you some money or whatever, I would seriously consider getting some help. I would just try to find something else. I would think about it. I would really think about it, and I would be honest with myself.